Rage is everything in Rise of Kingdoms, okay? You fire off more rage, then you can do your active skills quicker because you reach your rage requirement. More active skills equals more damage. More damage, more DPS, damage per second. More buffs that you do, more debuffs that you do, and we love rage. That's why we want drums, guys. We love drums on our marches. We love horns on our marches. That's what we want to do to fire off our active skills more often. And there's been a phobia in the game over the last few years about overraging. Like, you can only get 220 rage per second or per turn, and if you go over that, you waste that rage. Well, we're here to tell you, because we pulled our Mythbusters segment from the War Council podcast over the weekend, and we're going to go through and we're going to put it to the test. Are we going to bust this myth that you overrage, or does it even matter? So stick around while we go through that on Mythbusters right now. Let's go, Mythbusters. This is the animation. I love it. So one of the things that we have discussed, talked about, debated, people debate all the time, it's about overraging your marches. And let me kind of set the stage. When Luce first came out, and we realized, as Billick said earlier, just how potent the extra rage that you get off of his expertise because of the extra basic attack that he does, essentially. You know, we thought, like, okay, you don't put a horn on that. Now, we've got to go back to the early days, and Wick Gaming was one of the first to really bring it to the public. I think other people probably understood how the rage element worked when it came to commanders, but Wick Gaming, who's been retired, he hadn't put out content in a long time, but he years ago was really the first one to bring it to the public and say, hey, you have a rage cap. You got a rage cap every second of 220, right? And so whatever rage you get from Undying Fury, whatever rage you get from Burning Blood and the talents, whatever rage you get from your skills, it's going to cap at 220. And then you get the mitigation after that. If you're getting rage mitigated on your marches, that happens after you've applied all your rage. But it was almost like a phobia people had. And when it was like, well, you don't want to overrage your marches. You go into the talent trees of any support commander. It was like, oh, you're only, I still have it. You can only take 2 out of 3 on Rejuvenate because you're going to overrage. And now it comes with like the horn. Do we put the horn on a commander like Luce, or is it going to overrage? And I literally subscribed to that. I was one of the players that was like, no, don't put the horn on Luce. You're going to overrage. And it was almost like we were scared about it. But then the more as we learned and developed through the game, and now you got more rage mitigations, and you're wanting to fire off so fast, the benefits of firing off a second faster or 2 seconds faster on your active skills far outweigh the rage, overraging. And so we just literally came to that when that's still an argument. So that's kind of the myth we're talking about. Should we be concerned about overraging, or can we put that myth to bed and say overraging is fine? Don't worry about it. Daver?
Yeah. I think we have to understand the thing with overraging. Like you said, we have to look at the early days of the game, where people were thinking that attack is the best stat. Almost all the cooldowns on the game were hidden; they were not written in the skills. And we have the rage, but no ideas of how it works. Like, people were even thinking like Joan of Arc is buffing your entire alliance, not just 5 matches. So in the early days, some people try to break down the hidden mechanics of the game. And I knew there was discussion going on about the rage. You don't get all the rage, all the benefit of the rage, but no one has exactly put the numbers and broke down it. And I think when Wick make this huge work to bring the knowledge to the public and to the community, he also has his own opinion and his own ideas of how it works. And I think the concept of overraging came from here, because his first statement was feral nature is the most useless talent in a tree. You don't need that rage. Orn, you have to look at for Orn, because there is a lot of matches where Orn is useless. And like we discussed already, I think the issue with that is that Weak Gaming retired a long time ago, and he didn't have the chance to correct some ideas.
Rage and overrage concepts. Let's go. Go ahead.
So yeah, just I defined the different concepts. So we call the carrot a carrot and an apple an apple. So overraging is when your extra rage sources will fail at creating a faster skill cycle. So this is overraging. You add some rage source, and this rage will never translate in going to a faster skill cycle. Then we have singleton overflow. So when an additional rage source creates more rage than you can receive in one turn. So this idea is of a RoK cap, and you go over this cap. So it's singleton overflow. And we have to differentiate partial, that full overflow. Partial overflow, it's when just a part of the additional rage is wasted. So for an example, you have 180 rage, you add another 60 rage on top of that. Part of this rage is useful, but part is useless because one part will go over the RoK cap.
Correct. Basically, to simplify it, you've got some rage, overraging a little bit when you have a kind of an overflow, which overflow is not bad. That means you're maximizing your rage, but you have a little bit overflow that you're not going to be able to use, which is fine. You take that because that liability is not near as potent as the asset of firing off faster. You got post-rage thresholds, which basically mean that you run your rage up and you're at 950 rage, and then you hit another 180 rage on your next turn, and then you have a post rage. You hit your active skill, and then the rage over the 1,000 rage requirement gets kind of deleted a little bit, and then you have your rage ceiling. And we all know this: when you get swarmed, you're going to fire off so fast, so quick, and because you're applying so much counterattack, 16-point rage to each one of those 12 marches that are hitting you, or however many marches that are hitting you, and it makes perfect sense. So with that, was there anything else on here? I was going to get to Billick real quick and just talk about this. Billick, go ahead, Dabber.
No, I'll say.
Yeah, so Billick, you know the importance of rage and how rage is so crucial to the game, because the more you fire off, and you've got an exceptional concept of DPS. Well, guys, DPS means damage per second. And when you're running a march, or you're running a battle, or you're running a simulation or anything for 20 or 30 or 40 seconds, you calculate your DPS, and the biggest aspect of your DPS is your active skill. And if you're firing that off more, you're doing more DPS. And so, Billick, you know this as well, just to talk about the importance of rage and the importance of firing off your active skills more. I mean, that's something that you've always said, right?
Man, so I think I had the misconception of Davor just mentioned. Like, for me, it's overraging was just it was simple. Overraging means extra rage that is being like overflown or not being used or something like that. I never thought about this overflow or rage ceiling. I mean, I knew about it, but overraging means like equal to more rage than 220 or something like that. Yeah, I mean, I did. So whenever I'm like assessing a new open field commander, I usually look at the rage cycle, because as Chad just said, that usually like when both of the commanders are doing like AoE, like active skill damage, then like 70 to 80% of your damage output consists of your active skill damage. So if we if we cast that skill faster and faster, then you are gaining tremendous amount of DPS, which is damage per second increase. And just a quick demonstration is like the more second you shave off from your skill cycle, the DPS increases even more, meaning that it has like this exponential effect. Mm-hmm. So the faster you cast your skill, the more and more damage that you are being able to deal. So yeah, that is the importance of of the rage cycle, and you guys know me. I am all over rage. I love rage. I love like generating rage, but also my point of view is in terms of Davor mentioned the single turn overflow and like overrage in an aspect. We are focusing on, or I mean, we used to focus on like a turn that is affecting the like. We are generating more rage and we are losing a rage during that turn, right? Like more than 220 rage. But if we take a look into that, like I think we are ignoring the other just normal turns where we're just generating rage normally, right? So if we like fill in these gaps with more rage, there are some potential that it's gonna be much more impactful. So where is it? Yeah, man, I get lost in my calculations, man. Yeah, I actually, yeah, I do. I did calculate the 2 points into support talent to regenerate, and then 3 points. Where is it? Yeah, and then as you guys can see in the red turns, you are actually overraging. Because the rage cap, the 220 rage cap, applies the last. And nowadays you have a couple of like rage reduction effects,
mitigations,
or rage effects happening. I consider this like 1 or 2 turns of like a little bit extra rage as a buffer rage, because it is protecting you from like, let's say you generated 220 rage, right? But then you lost some rage, and then at the end of the day you are generating 200 rage. But instead of me losing a rage, I would rather generate 240 rage, knowingly that I am overflowing, but that extra 20 rage is being buffer and protector of my like a rage bank or something like that. So for me, like you just try to generate as much rage as possible, because at the end of the day, that is just, you know,
and that is why, and that is why Billick runs like drums on every single march that he has. So the myth, and it turned into a myth, was basically saying, okay, you're not allowed to, you know, put horns on commanders that generate so much rage because you don't want to overrage. And overrage, like I said, became a phobia, and people would refuse to put more than 2 talents into rejuvenate. And I think what we're kind of busting here on that myth is that it doesn't matter. The simple thing is that it doesn't matter. Even if you overrage or you have a surplus of rage that you can't use, that doesn't matter, because if you shave off just 1 second off of your active skill, especially in today's back and forth fighting where you want to fire off as fast as possible, you start shaving off just 1 second on an active skill, and then that exponentially helps your DPS, because now you're starting your second skill cycle 1 second earlier. And if you can shave off another second, the next thing you know, you're running 4 or 5 active, let's say you're running 6 active skills, even if you're overraging a little bit, compared to running 7 active compared to running 5 active skills if you're not overraging and you're not going all in on rage. If you're doing basically more active skills in a 30-second period than you are, you know, not using all these rage enhancements and subscribing to the fact that rage is king, then you're always going to do worse. And so it doesn't matter if you overrage. That's the myth that kind of gets busted. And Dom, you know, in a practical sense in the field, you know this, man. Back and forth fighting and how this applies when we're fighting like crazy in the field. Rage and active skills are everything. And you want to fire off as much as you can. All the buffs that come with it, all the debuffs, but more importantly, all the damage. And that's what we want to do in the field, right?
Yeah, I think I agree with what Billick and Davor said too. It's one of the biggest misconceptions in RoK. Like after, we could say like Wick was kind of like the father of rage, right? When he cracked that stuff open, and then later on we had like a bunch of people like Specko, Davor, and Billick like refine everything, and we could actually like see how rage became much more important later in the game, right? But many players see any rage that exceeds the cap as wasted value, and I think that's where the issue is. It's focusing on the wrong metric. The objective is not about maximizing rage efficiency. The objective is to maximize your skill frequency, how fast you can speed up your skill procs, right? So If a commander like I'm just gonna take an example here. If you overrage over the 220 cap, it does not automatically mean that the rage source was ineffective, right? The only question that matters is whether that rage helped the commander to cast its skills sooner too. So a commander that can cast its skills like every 6 seconds instead of every 7 seconds will often gain far more value than the rage that was lost through overcap. So faster skill cycles means more damage, more buffs, more debuffs, and more overall impact on the battlefield. So,
Yes. And so from there, that is why, like, active skills king. You want to fire off active skills as fast as possible. Part of the reason why Chen is so effective, because with his rage consumption, which is a whole different metric, you're firing off his active skills faster. The reason why this dude is so powerful, it's not because necessarily he does damage every second, that helps, but it's the fact that if you put YSG or Zuge behind him, you're firing off every 4 to 5 seconds. And you're firing off so much DPS, just loads of damage all the time. It's why Huo kind of stayed in the game for a while, because he had so much value when it came to mitigating the rage requirement, where it was only 850 rage requirement to get him to fire off. He's going to punish you so quick. And it's not just him, it's the secondary commander behind him. And so Luce, like we've said, serious longevity in the game because he's got such a great rage engine. So when we say rage engine, and even as recent as Sun Tzu, and I'm pulling up these commanders here as I'm going through it, boys, that it's not necessarily the true damage that's great with his military sage effect of doing AoE true damage. It's the rage he gets from that. And being able to fire off much faster. And now even going back to what we talked about earlier with Versi, he's got so many different ways to apply more rage or more rage speed that he's gonna be effective. And so that's everything. So that myth on Mythbusters is kind of busted now, and that's what we wanted to see. So that myth is busted. Don't worry about overraging. You had great insight there from Daver and Billick and Dom and myself and the application. So fire away. Doesn't matter. Go overrage if you want to. None of that even matters. And with that, we hope you enjoyed this video. Please throw a thumbs up. Give us a like. And if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. If you're not subscribed to Billick and Dom, please do that. Also, I've got Daver's Toolbox at the bottom in the description of this video. Check that out. Appreciate those guys. And don't forget to catch the War Council podcast every Saturday. We're going to give it to you, answer questions, go through myth busting. We're going to talk hot topics. We're going to do our RoK Tinder, which is a lot of fun. So be sure to join us every Saturday. And with all that, we hope you have a great day, broskies.